That's when sing Paul Simon for me?
I'm sorry?
Supposed to be at the Paul Simon concert, but when you're 82, you can't sing concerts. But so can you sing anything for me?
If you want me to.
Diane, can you sing Paul Simon song for me?
No.
Why? Can you fake it?
Simon and Garfunkel?
Right. Just make it up. That's where I'm supposed to be tonight. He's 82 and he canceled because he's
Me
82.
and Julio down by the schoolyard.
Okay, good. Let's sing along. That'll be as close as I
Good,
can.
good evening, everybody. We're going to call this meeting to order of the Clovis City Council for July 7, 2025 at 6:01 p.m. At this time, if you would all rise, and Councilmember Basco will lead us in the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If our city clerk would have the roll call.
Yes. Councilmember Ashbeck? Here. Councilmember Baskell? Here. Councilmember Bessinger?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pierce?
Here.
And Mayor Moanatua?
Here. Next is public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the city council on any matter within the city council's jurisdiction that is not listed on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Does anyone wish to speak or address the council on an item not listed on the agenda? If you could state your name and give your address for the record.
So my name is Jenny Cran. I live on Bullard Avenue here in Clovis. I actually have two things. One just really quick. This is for the clerk. When is the information about our districting going to be forwarded to the county clerk? And then...
Do you have a question, answer?
Both
Yeah, go ahead and make your both comments, and then if we have some information, we can
The
share
other
that.
one is I was very distressed to see the recent Facebook postings by our Clovis Mayor Pro Tem regarding the county library. A children's reading list suggested by the county library titled Empathy was the source of the problem. Some of the books in this list dealt with the impact of immigration policies on undocumented families. The Mayor Pro Tem said that the library should not advocate caring about law-breaking children. And coming from the Mayor Pro Tem's post, I think this is a very bad look for our city and our Clovis way of life. Books are one of the most important ways that we come to know about worlds, cultures, history, science, anything that we don't necessarily bump into in our daily lives. Our libraries need to offer a broad array of information to help us grow, but especially to help our children. Our own children might have a classmate who's grieving the loss of a family member, or who disappeared from class because of fear, or they might hear about issues from conversations around them. We need to make sure that the children can learn and grow in these areas. Sometimes they don't understand the issues enough to even ask questions. Books can help them understand the world better. As for learning about empathy or caring for others, I refer you to Matthew 25, verses 31 to 46. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Anyone else like to address the council, public comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public
Mr.
comment
Mayor,
portion.
do you want us to answer the question?
I forgot about that first one with regards to information on the district going to the county.
Yes, that information was sent to the county shortly after it was adopted. So the county does have the information.
Okay. Thank you. Now we move to consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are routine in nature and are recommended for approval by the City Council. These items will be considered and voted on as a single item unless a council member requests separate consideration of any item. We have items 1 through 23, and I do want to note that on item 20, Councilmember Drew Bessinger will be abstaining because of a conflict, but he will stay on the dais. And any other items that you would like to pull, the rest of the council?
Mayor, I'll be abstaining from item 20 because of the proximity to my residence, but I will be staying on the dais.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll open up to the public. Public like to address any of the items 1 through 23? Seeing none, we'll close that, bring it back to the council.
I'll make a motion that we approve consent items numbers 1 through 19 and 21 to 23.
Second? Okay, we have motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we
And I'll make a subsequent motion to approve item 20.
Second.
motion and second, item 20. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And 1 abstention for the record. Thank you. We'll move now to council items. This is item number 24. This is appointments of the Measure Y Oversight Committee. Staff on this is our city clerk, Brianna Parra.
Hold on, I'm trying to flip it.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mayor. In April 2025, the City Council directed staff to establish an application of interest process for the Measure Y Oversight Committee, and the interest forms were made available to all residents of Clovis meeting the eligibility requirements. However, interest forms are not required for this appointment. The application of interest period did open for several weeks and closed on June 6th, with a total of 10 interest forms received. Each council member was asked to nominate 1 qualified applicant for appointment, with the final appointment subject to the majority approval of the full city council. With that, we have our 5 nominees. Councilmember Ashbeck has nominated Sarah Anderson, Councilmember Baskell, Desiree Haas, Councilmember Bessinger, LaDonna Snow, Mayor Pro Tem Pierce, Eric Rollins, and Mayor Moanatua, Greg Newman. And council, we do have our appointments here.
Is that completes your report? Okay, any questions from the council? This time, we're going to open up to the public. Any comments from the public on the appointees? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that public portion and bring it back to the council. I think it's requiring a motion of approval from us, or any comments before that?
I'll just say with our gratitude to those that submitted their application and for those willing to serve, we appreciate that, and I'm happy to make the motion for the appointment of those folks as named by our city clerk.
We get a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Next is item 25. This is to consider approval of a resolution appointing members of the General Plan Advisory Committee. Staff on this is our senior planner, Lily Cha. And Renee Mathis.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. So as indicated, we are here before you this evening asking your appointment of the General Plan Advisory Committee, also known as the GPAC. But before we do that, I'd like to provide you with a quick update on the general plan update process itself. As you're aware, the endeavor has been divided into 3 separate phases, each estimated to kind of align with the calendar year, with the estimated completion within 3 years. So phase 1, we're looking at visioning, establishing the existing conditions report, and identifying issues and opportunities. And then phase 2, we're looking at land use mapping and alternatives to that land uses. And then we're also looking to talk about policy direction and discussion on other elements of the general plan. And then in phase 3, the last year, we'll be drafting the actual general plan document itself and preparing the EIR with hopes of council adoption by the end of 2027. So just kind of want to pivot back to phase 1 since that's where we're at the moment. This month, July, we'll be wrapping up the outreach summary report, which is a report of the outreach that we've done and the feedback received from the community. And then we'll also be wrapping up the existing conditions report. Both reports will come back to council for kind of just overview when we come back with a check-in. And then we are also planning on some focus group meetings at the end of this month. And of course, we are here this evening for final GPAC appointments. So we hope to get that completed this month as well. Also want to let council know that from June through September, we have the land use change request applications available. And those are available to property owners within the planning area. Anyone who wants to change their land use designation would request through that process. And then in September, we'll be kickstarting the GPAC meetings, and as well as reviewing those applications received for land use changes. And then we'll also be planning on coming back to council with a check-in. So we'll go ahead and pivot back to the GPAC. So for those in the audience who are unaware, the GPAC is a group of community members and stakeholders who provide input and support for the city's general plan update process. They provide feedback and guidance, policy guidance. They review and comment on material, and they essentially represent the community, ensuring that the community's vision is incorporated into this update. And they also serve as ambassadors for the update process. We expect that they share information and promote public involvement. That said, back in March, Council approved the GPAC application process to solicit GPAC members. The application was open from April through May. We received a total of 50 applications, and to ensure a well-balanced GPAC, we focused on recommending members with a range of backgrounds and experiences. And to do that, selections were made as evenly as possible across the 5 categories that were outlined in the application and that you see here. They include the development community, business community, quasi-public organizations, community service, and just the community at large. And I'd like to note that most of the applications received, applicants selected more than one category, which is kind of expected as many people wear multiple hats in our community. And I'd also like to take this time to thank those who took the time to apply. Your commitment to Clovis and its growth and future is greatly appreciated. We did receive 50 applications, as mentioned. We had to narrow that down to 17 members, 2 of which are kind of earmarked for our youth representatives. And that being said, we received very many good applications, and it was a very difficult process to make these recommendations. And for those who were not recommended this evening or who will not be appointed this evening, we still strongly encourage that you stay involved. The GPAC meetings are open to the public, and there will be opportunity for public input during those meetings as well. So that said, these are our 17 recommended GPAC members. 1 through 15 are your standard voting GPAC members. 16 and 17 are our youth representatives. We wanted to ensure that we had representation from our youth community. And we do believe that these recommendations offer a well-balanced representation across the categories that we mentioned earlier. So for instance, I won't name the names, but numbers 1 through 4 are residential commercial developers. 5 through 7 represent those in the business community and have commercial influence. 8 and 9 have influence in the school district and experience working with people with disabilities. And then 10 through 12 have ties with the community service groups. And 13 through 15 were selected to represent the larger community, however, have influence in the health, safety, business, and agricultural industries. Again, 16 is the ex officio youth commission member to be selected by the commission when they convene this year. And then 17 is a former youth commission member who we thought would be a good representative of the youth community in general. And most importantly, these individuals are committed to Clovis's growth as residents and stakeholders. Staff also recommends that the council approve this list of individuals that we identified who would be strong candidates to fill any future vacancies on the GPAC if needed. The way this would work would be we would not come back to the city council. However, the city manager will have the authority to appoint replacements from this list as needed. And we'll do our best effort to fill the vacancies with those with closely related experience as the vacated GPAC member. And it is highly recommended that these individuals attend the GPAC meetings regularly. to keep up to date with the discussions going on so that in the event that they are called upon, they are aware of where we are at in the process. So moving forward, what we can expect from GPAC meetings, we will be kicking off in early September. We will have monthly meetings thereon through to late 2026. We could potentially have multiple meetings a month, but that will be determined on an as-needed basis. These will all be in-person meeting sessions in the evening, about 2 to 3 hours long. They will be held at a city facility. We're recommending the Transit Center. And agendas and materials will be provided in advance. They will also be posted on the city's website in advance for the public. The meetings will be facilitated by the city's consultant, who is Ben from De Novo, and they will be structured as roundtable collaborative working sessions. So we will not have a formally appointed chair. And then again, these meetings are open to the public. Public involvement and engagement is highly encouraged. They will be noticed according to the Brown Act as well. And anyone who is interested, I would encourage to sign up for our email listserv. You can navigate that through the city's general plan update webpage. And it's an easy sign up, and you'll be updated on periodically by email on the GPAC meetings, as well as just the overall updates to the general plan process as we move forward. So that said, we recommend that the City Council appoint the recommended GPAC members to support the general plan update process, as well as approve the list of individuals who would be eligible to fill vacancies as needed. This concludes my report, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Mayor. If I may, Lily did a very great job of providing a comprehensive overview. The only thing I can think of to add is we're super excited that we received 50 applications. That really demonstrates an interest in the GPAC, the General Plan Advisory Committee. I hope that as many people attend the meetings and provide their input. I also wanted to just highlight that when we went through the audit on how to proceed with the general plan update, be it a comprehensive update, there was a section in there that covered the GPAC and the recommendation from our consultant on maintaining a manageable group. And what we had landed on was the 15 members. And so that's really kind of what guided us in making the selection. Lily highlighted very appropriately, we had a lot of great candidates, and so I don't see how we could go wrong. There is a nice diversification, but really trying to maintain a manageable voting group while these are still public meetings that the public may come and participate and provide their feedback. But we really tried to remain focused on the direction we received from council on coming back to you with a list of 15 recommended. Now there are 2 additional. We think they're very important positions to have. They represent our youth and their vision, because sometimes they think a little differently than we do, and they're really out there with the big visions. And so I think it's going to be very important to have them at the table. So with that, that does conclude our recommendation. Again, I think Lily did a very nice job of giving you an overview. So we're available if you have any questions. I know committee members were contacted, both who are being recommended to sit on the GPAC and on the backup list. They're here tonight as best they could be. Some of them had some prior commitments, some were ill, but there are quite a few members here, and I'm really excited that they're here tonight with us. So thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Lily. Any questions for the staff? Councilmember Bessinger?
Yeah, I agree. 50 people applying for this they see the vision. They know how important it is. This is an excellent presentation. Very professional. I really like the graphics too. Question regarding the meetings. Are we going to Zoom those? Is that because the type of meeting it's going to be, is that going to be difficult to do with different tables?
Yes, we did consult with our consultant, Ben, and it is a difficult setup to maintain. I did do some preliminary outreach to some people in our IT, which sounds like it would be difficult to put together a setup like that, especially for a roundtable. The only way we could potentially do that is if we figure out how to set it up in the council chambers, since we already have some of the equipment here. So I'll continue to look into whether or not we can do that. Otherwise, we will have minutes posted after every GPAC meetings.
Yeah, if we can do it, but I can understand if we have 4 or 5 tables, we're gonna have to have equipment on each of those tables, and then
Right.
people are gonna be talking over each other, and so if we can do something to help public outreach on this, that'd be great, but I understand the limitations. That's all I have.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. Lily, you know, the beginning of your presentation, I think that the land use changes, that is something that can you explain that a little bit more so that way we can inform the public what they can do? That was something very new, what that is and how we can continue to let landowners now know, so that way it can be a part of this amendment process.
Yes, so that is an application to request a change of land use designations. There's a small fee associated with those applications, but essentially, if any property owner wants to or requests to change their land use, they would submit the application. They would select, what land use they'd like to change to. We'll review that. Staff as well as the GPAC will review the requests, and we'll provide different options. Typically, it's 3 or 4 options to the council to kind of consider, and then you'll make the final determination on what is ultimately, our final land use map that we will move forward with.
But it does go through the entire GPAC process.
It does.
Before it gets to us. So it's not a in-between, they're coming and we're making changes, is what I'm trying to understand, right?
Correct. It'll go through the GPAC process first. It'll also get vetted through staff as well. Yes. So not all applications are going to be approved.
Yeah, okay. I just want to be able to, for how we can just keep putting that out, because that allows property owners the ability to really be involved, at least at their parcel level for us. It may or may not make sense, and that's understandable, but I think that's very powerful that we are doing that in this process. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Initially, we had the applications open until June. We did some kind of targeted outreach with our listserv and our development community. However, we got some feedback that, there are others that should be aware, and so we're figuring out how we could do better targeted outreach with the land use change request application, and that's why we extended it through September.
Yeah, that's great, because I think that there are potential land uses that have not been very productive or has not made any changes, and I think this is a great time for them to give us input. So excellent. I just heard that. I really like that. So our updates as the council really won't just minutes, or are you planning as staff, 3 months in, 6 months in, a year in, giving updates, or is it more just the end product that we will be updated? Can you give us?
We will be updating you periodically through the update process. Our efforts are going to be quarterly. We're going to come back hopefully sometime in September with updates on what feedback we received through the summary report, as well as the existing conditions report. We'll also be asking for your direction on how we should consider the land use alternatives.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other questions? Yes, go ahead, Councilmember Ashby.
Scott, this is a question for Scott. Scott, does Zoom access apply to Brown Act committees?
It's not legally required yet for all Brown Act committees, but
Is it allowed, not required?
it's allowed, yes.
It is allowed.
It is allowed, yes. But it's the agency's discretion to do it. So it's not legally required. You're not legally required to have a audio visual option as long as the entire council is here. Now, if one of you was accessing remotely and wanted to attend the meeting, then we have to allow that remote option for the members of the public.
Thanks.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to go ahead and open up to the public. Any comments, questions regarding this item, GPAC committee? Yes, Mr. Trevino.
My name is Steve Trevino, I live in Bullard. Are we gonna know beforehand what's gonna be discussed at some of these meetings?
Go ahead.
Yes, we will be posting the agenda and any related materials to discussions of that day ahead of time.
Is it gonna be on the City of Clovis website or?
Yes, so the City of Clovis has a general plan update webpage, and everything will be posted there for the upcoming GPAC meeting. So I encourage you to check periodically, or you can sign up for the email listserv, and I'll send you email updates.
Now, are those meetings gonna be on a certain day at a certain time or?
We're going to try to hold them kind of regularly, like, for example, if it's Thursday, it'll be the second Thursday of every month. Our attempt would be to do that for kind of just consistency.
Now, are they gonna be recorded on YouTube?
I believe that was the question Councilmember Bessinger asked. Right now, we're trying to figure the technicalities of that. They may or may not be, just depending on whether or not we're able to make it work, the
Yeah,
setup.
I think that's really important, like the council meetings. Sometimes I can't make them, so like one time I was in Mexico, and believe it or not, I was watching them from Mexico. And then there's times somebody will say something and I didn't hear it right, and I go back home and I go back and watch it again. So, I mean, I think it's really important that it's on YouTube. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, I appreciate your feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to bring it back to the council. Any final comments, or if there's a motion?
I would also just offer gratitude, especially to those of you that have served on the last one. What is wrong with you? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. This one will not take 3 years of your life, I'm sure. But to those who agreed to serve, thank you, especially those that have already done it once. To those that applied to serve, thank you. And that is why Clovis is a great community. So I will also be happy to make this motion as well.
Okay,
Is
I
that a
would take
motion?
that as a motion.
Didn't I just make this
Yeah.
motion as well? That was it.
Okay.
That's all you got.
Do we have a second?
Thank you.
And I
Okay.
second your comments.
Yeah, whatever. It was all the same.
Okay, we have a motion, second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for all the appointees and also the alternates. Thank you. Okay. Next on the item, on the agenda is administrative item number 26. This is consider approval of a resolution confirming the diagram and assessments for fiscal year 2025-2026 annual levy for landscape maintenance district number 1 and declare results of the assessment ballot election regarding a proposed assessment increase in benefit zones 4 and 5 of landscape maintenance district number 1. Parks Manager Timothy Brashears is presenting on this.
Good evening, Mayor Manitoua and members of the council. Yes, Tim Brashears, City of Clovis Parks Manager. Here again to discuss the 218 election, but in a little further detail. And I brought with me some firepower who does most of her work behind the scenes, but a lot of heavy lifting to keep us on track to deliver the ultimate results, but also speak to a little bit of the process that led up to that. So with that, Sarah
Tim,
Payne.
could you scoot your microphone a little bit closer to you as you speak?
Absolutely, sorry.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. That was, yeah, do I need to repeat any of that? Or, but yeah,
It's hard to hear online, and so thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, folks online.
Good evening. I am Sarah Payne. I'm here, as Tim mentioned, to give the ballot results for the Prop 218 that we did. So we will start with doing a recap on the efforts we put in the past few months to get to this point. We were working with Francisco and Associates to run the Prop 218, and this was for two zones. We had two park zones, Zone 4 and Zone 5. We sent out ballots that contained educational brochures that invited each resident within that zone to attend community meetings, and they were at that park zone's park. And those were held on both May 7th and May 8th. And we also did social media outreach, and we did that through Nextdoor only so that it was more targeted to those areas. And we did one post in April and 2 in June. And then we also redesigned signs that we posted in both Zone 4 and Zone 5 parks. Those were at every park. And so on July 17th, we did the ballot tabulations here at just right over at the safety conference room. For Zone 4, we mailed out 7,908 ballots, and of that, 2,183 were returned with a just under 28% return rate. And of that, 50.5% were a yes vote. So that Zone 4 did pass. For Zone 5, we mailed 3,654 ballots, and of that, 1,049 were returned with just under a 29% return rate, and that one too passed with a 51.3. They were both very close. I want to thank everyone who did take part in voting because it does make a difference. This has gone out a few times and it has not passed, so having both of them pass is big news.
Okay, so what that means, and I'll kind of keep this concise here, is basically a restoration of service levels, specifically for Zone 4 and then for Zone 5, but a focus on a more robust chemical and fertilizer program for the turf, for some of the nuisance weeds and the soil conditions that we have out there that could use some additional care, and plan for replacement of some of the play structures as they age. Now we have kind of some light at the end of the tunnel that we can actually start repairing these and replacing them as needed. For Zone 5, as you know, this was a more critical zone, 12 years in the making to get us to where we are, but again, to develop a long-term plan to increase the service levels, in addition to digging out of the financial hole that it's in, we estimate that taking 4 to 5 years, and there's going to be a strategic response or a strategic plan to introduce minimal service levels increasingly as we also dig out of the hole. So there's a plan to kind of hit that two-prong approach and not just jump right in and not actually dig out of the financial hole that we're in by providing this miraculous service right off the bat and then not being responsible about it. So we have a very responsible strategic approach to take care of both. And then once at that time, at 4 or 5 years, once we're even and doing fine, we have great service levels, we're in the black, we start looking at playground equipment. We can't just jump into all this right off the bat, or else we wouldn't be making up any ground. So, and as far as the annual levy is going, basically, there's an additional 8 zones that will be increased that have been annual for some time now, and the total of 10 includes Zone 4 and 5. And with that, staff recommends that you declare the results of the assessment ballot election regarding a proposed assessment increase in Landscape Maintenance District Number 1, and adopt a resolution confirming the diagram and assessments for the fiscal year 2025-26 annual levy for Landscape Maintenance District Number 1. And we'd be happy to try to answer any questions if there is any.
Any questions of staff? Councilman Bessinger?
I'm concerned, this is really a question for the city manager. I'm concerned both of these were very close in the balloting, and if I'm a person in Zone 4 and 5, I voted yes, and I see nothing for 4 or 5 years, I'm going to be a little irritated. I think we need to consider front-end loading some of the stuff, maybe moving some money around from some of our reserve funds to do this so that people who voted yes see some action more quickly. But that's a decision that'll be made by the city manager, but I think that's important.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Just a comment, I think I'm really happy that it passed, and I'm super disappointed it was so close. It's sort of hard to believe that for the volume of concerns and complaints, and it's not enough, and to have a chance, and haven't they each gone out? Is this like the 3rd time that?
This has been going on for some time.
Yeah, so to those who voted yes, eternally grateful. Thank you to those folks. I do not mean to diminish that, but it is pretty disappointing that it's still barely 50% of the folks. Everyone gets to benefit. I get that's how this all works, but I hope that might turn around, but that sentiment is disappointing for the number of complaints we get from those areas, to think you had a chance to make it better and you didn't see that to work. I just wanted to say that, and gratitude to those who voted yes. So not to diminish that, but it's disappointing that it was so close.
Yeah, we're grateful that it passed.
Yeah,
It
me
was
too.
close, so at least we're there.
Any other comments or questions? I wanted to concur with Councilmember Bessinger, and I would even push it more for Zone 5, because that's the one that really, I don't see Zone 4 as much. I use Zone 5 parks, and I think it will help the yes and the no, for them to see, you know, there were pictures of people playing volleyball with the grass almost mid-calf. And so for us to just go mow the lawn, you know, go do the simple things that we can do, even if we have to front load it. So that way it shows, okay, immediately there's something different that is happening in those parks, in those areas. I also concur with that. If we can do that, I think it will improve everybody who voted or participated, because everyone who did vote is paying attention now.
Absolutely.
And so they're going to see, okay, what did we get for this vote, or this extra money we're paying for? And for those who didn't, going, oh, okay, that's why it won. Look what it did. And so now they'll know that's what that fee, that tax, those extra dollars, are what it's going for. So.
Yeah, absolutely, that makes complete sense. We do have some plans, and I'll talk it over with Scott on how he wants to implement them moving forward, but we do have ideas, so we're not just kind of running into this blindly.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and open the public portion. If you have any comments with this, please come to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record.
Brian Wilson, 469 Bergen. I've been doing a little survey of the city parks. I've noticed the safety facilities that are on the playgrounds, that there are hard plastic, rubber, they're falling apart. So I'm kind of in favor of some of that money going to replace some Measure Y money, because that's a serious safety issue. And so I can see that Measure Y could be used in that sense. They're falling apart. I saw kids eating it. So it's something that I think the city ought to look at that. Now, I don't know about the Zone 4 and Zone 5, but I've just been looking at playgrounds around the city, and there needs some help, I think, on some of that stuff. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Kids eating it is definitely a safety problem.
Hey, my name is Stephen Trevino. I live on Boulder. I didn't know whether to mention this or not, but every once in a while I drive by, is it Michael McDonald Park? Yeah. There's a David McDonald.
David McDonald.
Oh, well, that's what I was going to say. It's kind of, you know, a lot of people that I've talked to lately, they're not from around Clovis. They come from the Bay Area, LA, different areas. And believe it or not, I'm thinking to myself, some people may think that park was named after Mike McDonald from the Doobie Brothers. And I think that it's important that there's a plaque or something like that, so that people know who this gentleman, because a lot of people don't know who he is anymore. It's been since 9/11. How long has it been?
Yeah.
Has it been 30 years, 20-something years
Yeah.
since it happened? And a lot of kids, you have children. I mean, they weren't around when it happened, because that's how I remember Mr. McDonald. Because I remember going to Palco for that big celebration when they had that big, I shouldn't say celebration, but that big, whatever it was. I remember going there when 9/11 was a big deal. And Mr. McDonald, he brought in these gentlemen, the firefighters here to Clovis. I remember all that. You know, that was my drinking days. But anyways, it was I remember all that. And I think it's important that he be noted on a plaque at the park, so that people know, who he was, so that we don't confuse him with somebody else.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just
Excellent ideas
comment on that?
for something to think about for us in the future. Go ahead.
Mr. Trevino, you said that about Letterman Park too,
Yeah, the water
communications
tower.
team. I do think we can invest in parks or signs that tell the story of our community to exactly that point. So thank you for bringing that up again. Really important, really important. And I still don't know who Letterman was, so staff, work on that. Thanks.
Anyone else in the public like to address this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public portion. We'll bring it back to the council.
Motion to accept the results of the ballot election and to adopt the assessments for fiscal year 2025-26, annual levy for the LMD District 1. Am I in the wrong one?
No, it's the right one. Yeah.
Okay.
We have a motion. Do we
I'll
get a
second that.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, we'll move to item number 27. This is to consider approval, adopting wage and benefit changes for City of Clovis unrepresented management employees for fiscal year 2025-26, 26-27, and 27-28. Staff on this is our General Services Director, Amy Hance.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm here tonight as required by Government Code Section 54953, as amended in 2017 by Senate Bill 1436. This code section requires a verbal report on compensation changes for agency executives during an open meeting before approval of those changes. The city recently concluded negotiations with all 8 of our bargain units and has approved cost of living increases over a 3-year period. Any increases in executive salaries, which include department heads, city clerk, assistant city manager, and city manager, must be verbally stated in open session. Executive staff will be receiving cost of living increases of 3% in FY 25-26, 2% in FY 26-27, and 2% in FY 27-28, along with market rate adjustments to some position salaries. This concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions of staff? Lynn, do you have a question? No? Okay. Amy, I had a couple questions. Can you state just for the record, are these increases comparable to all the bargaining units? Because I know that was approved in consent, and sometimes the public does not hear that. So can you confirm or state if it's any different than what was approved to the rest of the employees?
Yes, the cost of living increases for the executive management team is exactly the same as all the rest of our 8 bargaining units, 3, 2, and 2.
Okay. And then with some of these particulars of the increases, will this help us with regards to our salary surveys just being comparable to our salary surveys, at least on the management level and executive team, and then help with retention and also with succession planning, any of that? Or could you kind of share sort of the reasons behind it so that way, we understand why some of these are being asked?
Sure. As the city gets ready for bargaining, we conduct a salary survey that compares the city of Clovis to 9 comparable cities. Based on that salary survey, we take a look at all of our current salaries and make sure that we are market competitive, that we can still continue to attract qualified, invested, loyal employees, and that we can maintain them. So that's exactly what the market adjustments we hope will do.
And are we able to absorb this increase? Because the total is $3.9 million over 3 years. Did we budget for it already, or is this something that's going to come back later, so that way we know that, okay, this is something we were expecting and something that we can absorb? And where will the funds come in this $3.9 million for the next 3 years?
Yes, so this money was already budgeted in our 25-26 budget, and relying on Andy, but we took a look. About 50% comes from the general fund, and 50% comes from internal funds and other funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. This time we're going to go ahead and open up the public portion. If you would like to address the council on item number 27, please do so at this time. Okay, seeing none. Okay, we'll bring it back. Get a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the wage and benefit changes for the City of Clovis unrepresented management employees for the fiscal years noted in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll move to item 28. This is, we have a couple items here of acquisition for a fire apparatus. Item A is consider approval to waive the city's formal bidding requirements and authorize the sole source ordering of a Pierce Velocity 107 all-wheel steer quint aerial fire truck replacement from Golden State Fire Apparatus in the amount of $2,333,126.93. And B, consider approval to waive the city's formal bidding requirements and authorize the sole source ordering of a new Pierce triple combination pumper engine for Fire Station 1 from Golden State Fire Apparatus in the amount of $1,391,037.69. And C, consider approval to authorize the city manager to sign the purchase agreements. Staff on this is our Fire Chief, Chris Eck, and Battalion Chief, Rob Wright.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. As stated with me tonight is Battalion Chief Rob Wright, who oversees our apparatus committee, and he'll be going over the details of each order. Tonight, we're asking for authorization to order our new fire engine that was approved with Measure Y funding, and to order our replacement truck as part of our vehicle replacement program. We are not asking for funding of either apparatus at this time, only for the authorization to order, so we can lock the prices before Pierce's next price increase, and this was the last meeting that we could get that in. We have been working collaboratively with the finance department and our fleet department to look at funding, which we do have secured. And at this time, I'd like to thank the finance department and the fleet department for working with us over the last couple months. And we've identified funding sources, and we'll be evaluating the best payment option and select the most fiscally responsible method at a later date, and then we'll come back for funding approval. The reason we're asking for both of these right now is that there's an approximate 4-year wait time or build-out time for these apparatus. So this is part of the challenge post-COVID era. If we were back in the pre-COVID build times, we're only like a year and a half. We would only be asking for the engine now, and then we'd be asking for the truck in a couple years. So, but this is what our challenges are right now. So we're gonna order them, and then we'll get them in 4 years. So with that, I'll turn it over to Battalion Chief Wright. He's been involved with multiple apparatus purchases as part of our apparatus committee.
Thank you, Chief. Before the council tonight is a staff report from the fire department requesting authorization for the city manager to sign purchase agreements for a new fire engine and a new aerial ladder truck. As the chief stated, the build times for fire apparatus have greatly increased. Currently, from the time we place an order for a fire engine or truck, we will not take delivery for roughly 4 years. At that time, we have to mount equipment on the apparatus and train the crews on the new trucks or engines operation. These long build times require the fire department and city to carefully plan our vehicle purchases to ensure that our fleet is in good mechanical working order and meets our adopted vehicle replacement schedule. So first, we have the request for approval for a ladder truck replacement, very similar to our 2019 truck pictured here. The order is part of our normal replacement schedule, as the chief stated, but we're requesting to order it early due to the 4-year build time. Our current frontline truck here is a 2019, and our reserve truck is a 2008. So one way to look at it is we're actually replacing the 2008 truck, which will then come out of our fleet, and the 2019 will go into reserve, where it'll serve roughly 10 more years in reserve status. If we order the truck now, by the time we take delivery in 2029, it will still be almost 2 years past our adopted vehicle replacement schedule. Approval will allow the fire department to order a Pierce Velocity 107-foot all-wheel steer quint fire truck. We're requesting approval to order the truck now and pay for it at a future date with a cost of $2,303,126.93. This allows the city flexibility with its funds, paying at a future date, that is, allows the city flexibility with its funds and security that we aren't having to outlay the funds for 4 years before we receive the vehicle. This price includes significant discounts for utilizing Sourcewell pricing. Sourcewell cooperative purchasing pricing ensures that we are obtaining competitive pricing for our fire apparatus while maintaining our ability to order custom vehicles to meet the city's needs. Again, this vehicle is a part of the fire department's normal vehicle replacement schedule, and we have been setting aside funding in the vehicle renewal account for this purchase, which is currently funded at over $1.2 million. We will continue to allocate funds to this account prior to delivery, possibly utilizing some Measure Y funding. The second part of this request is the approval for a new fire engine. The council formally approved a new fire company to be placed in service this fiscal year. This Measure Y funded company will be staffed with 3 personnel and will respond out of Station 1 in Old Town Clovis, reducing response times and helping us ensure that we have an effective firefighting force to respond quickly throughout the city. When this additional fire company is placed in service, we will be responding on an older reserve engine until the arrival of the new engine that we are requesting tonight in approximately 4 years. If approved, this engine will be ordered now and paid for at a later date for the same reasons as the truck that I described. The cost for this vehicle is $1,391,037.69, and Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing pricing is also being utilized for this. If approved, these vehicles will be ordered through Golden State Fire Apparatus, which is our Pierce dealer in Sacramento. Both Pierce Manufacturing and Golden State Fire Apparatus have provided exceptional customer service to Clovis since 1996. Continuing to purchase Pierce Fire Apparatus ensures continued standardization of equipment placement and vehicle operation for our fire crews, and a more efficient vehicle maintenance program with a single point of contact for warranty work and parts ordering. These purchases are consistent with our apparatus replacement schedule approved by the Center for Public Safety Excellence, and the apparatus will meet or exceed standards set forth by the National Fire Protection Association. In closing, we believe these 2 vehicles are an investment in the community and will be trustworthy emergency response vehicles that will serve our community for at least 20 years, and we recommend approval of this project. And I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Councilmember Basco.
Just a real quick question on it. So this locks in our price regardless? Like
Yes.
signing the contract now,
Correct.
4 years from now, we're not going to have a up price or anything like that occur?
Correct. There is a chance that if the price of steel and everything goes up a significant amount, it's a kind of like the Consumer Price Index, but it's called the PIP. If it goes up over 5% in a given year, anything over that price, the city's on the hook for, and that is clear in the contract. That's happened 2 times in the nation's history since they've been tracking it, once right after World War II and once during COVID. So while we think those chances are limited, there is a chance that it could be slightly higher. But in general, this locks in the price.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? I just wanted to explain to the public, we're saying, go into a sole source. This Sourcewell company actually is doing all the bidding, so it's really not, we're just going through, we're going through sole source, who does all the work, finds the best price, and then delivers it to us. So really, we're not just going straight to one and not really doing our due diligence. Is that pretty clear how I understand what Sourcewell does for us?
Correct. It's a cooperative purchasing consortium. So similar to how we might go to RFP,
Yeah.
they do that ahead of time. It's a nationwide, funded by the federal government. It ensures we're meeting state mandates and our municipal ordinances for purchasing. So it really does, and I think, Chief, you have the documentation to show how much it saves us on each vehicle.
Okay.
It does ensure we're getting competitive pricing.
Mhm. And so all we're doing, Scott, is we are waiving it, but really we're not sole sourcing what most people will understand sole sourcing, correct?
That's correct,
But
Mayor.
it complies with all of our ordinances.
Yes,
for us.
so the city's own purchasing policy is what governs here, and there are provisions in the city's purchasing policy that allow for waiver when there's use of I'll read it, use of public multiple agency cooperative purchasing contracts.
Okay.
So utilizing bid proposal processes comparable to the purchasing requirements of the city, which is what's been described.
Okay. And then with the old trucks, do we sell it and get something back? What happens to the old truck?
So it's kind of a case-by-case basis. We recently gifted one to the city of Hanford, who was in a tight spot. It was, for us, a very old reserve with very little service life left. But due to these long build times, they reached out to all the chiefs in the area saying, does anyone have anything we can borrow or take? Because they had the funding to purchase one, but to get them till 4 years, till they can get their new fire engine, we gifted it. With our 1998 ladder truck, we did sell that to a department back east. So We've done both.
Okay.
We've given them to the City College. We gave one to Pink Heels. So it kind of depends. By the end of 20 years, they don't hold a lot of value
Okay.
anymore.
Thank you. And then my last question is, what happens if no funds come in through Measure Y, or there's something where sales tax, so are we bound to pay this in 4 years regardless, or are there ways out if we don't have the funds in 4 years? What happens then?
You want to speak to that, City Manager?
So we will need to start setting aside funds for these. We are signing a contract to purchase.
Okay.
Where we source that, when we pay for it, we may have to go to a lease model like we did during tough financial times in the past. We are hoping to stay away from the lease model. We're hoping to stay away from prepaying, keeping our cash, earning interest in the meantime. So we're in a great position to be smart about purchasing these and setting aside funds for. But there are some worst case scenarios that we've discussed if the funds don't come in as we hoped, to where we lease them, because we are going to need these engines
Got it.
and truck.
Excellent. That gives at least me assurances of what we're going to do. At this time, we'll go ahead and open the public portion. Anyone here to speak on this item? Please do so.
Good evening. My name's Stephen Trevino. I live in Bullard. A stupid question, but, you're talking about 4 years. What's the population right now? Is it 150? Right now, Clovis?
129.
129? 4 years, 5 years, we might be up to 170, 180,000. And who knows what the future holds for us. I say, I don't know what's going to happen, but I would buy 2 and 2.
I think the chief would like that.
I'm sure they would love that idea.
It's only money, okay? But I think it would be a wise decision. I would go ahead and get the 2 and the 2. If you can. I know. Because most likely you're going to need them. 4 years from now, you're going to say, we need another fire truck.
Don't worry, they'll be back next year asking for more. This is just the first step.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Any other comments? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public portion, bring it back to the council. What's the pleasure of the council?
I just want to make
Yes.
a comment if I could, and then I can make a motion. But I want to commend the idea of reusing the fire truck to Hanford. Some years ago, when I think I was first on COG, I thought it would be really great if we had like a civic swap meet in Fresno County or Fresno, Kings, Tulare, because with gratitude, I say, our poor cities would give anything for most of what we dispose of, desks, chairs. So I still think that maybe that idea is maybe more relevant today, but I didn't know you all did that with fire trucks, and so I love that idea, because people, smaller towns around here, Huron, Mendota, Firebaugh, they don't have that money. So I love that idea, and I don't know if it has any standing in COG was where I thought it would fit, but I just think we could help each other. Everybody wants a sister city somewhere else. Sorry, Drew. But we could have a sister city in Fresno County who are desperately struggling to do much of anything. So I just wanted to commend you for that, because that's really the heart of the idea. So good job on that.
Yeah, the only stipulation I made with donating the engine to Hanford was that I wanted to deliver it, because I was the agency that I worked for before.
I remember
and
that.
I wanted to take a picture with the chief giving it to him, so they came
So
and
there was
picked it
some
up.
personal satisfaction, like, okay, fine, here you go.
Yeah, well, and they were replacing the engine that when I started in the fire service 25 years ago
Oh,
was
love it.
already like 5 years old.
Love
so
that.
they were,
Yeah, that's super great. Andy?
So through COG, the city manager of Huron was asking for some help for some utility vehicles, and we were able to help them with some of the vehicles that we were disposing of as well. So it does happen on a fairly regular
I love
basis.
that. If we could even make it
So
something more
thanks
organized.
to our fleet team and.
Yeah, where people would know to ask. Because again, I think we we don't need desks or cubicles or all of the things that we may not have use for, but these other communities, I think, that really do. Hanford, I don't consider struggling in that way, but in this case, if they didn't want to wait 4 years. So anyway, just hats off on that. And the more we can do that, and the more maybe COG will take that up. And yes, you could have your sister city in Germany too, but I think that's super great. So good job. Do you want to make the motion, Drew? I think you started to make the motion.
I wanted to kind of comment on what you said. In 2014, when I took over the Kingsburg Police Department, we had a vehicle that had 200,000 miles on it. And I told them to park it. and I approached Matt
Oh,
when he
nice.
was the chief, and I bought 2 cars, I think for $1,200, or maybe you gave them to us, I can't remember. And they had 90,000 miles on it, and they were a little beat up, but I went to Mako, painted them. I kept all the money here, as much as money in Clovis as I could. Had the seats restuffed, the cars detailed, radios reprogrammed, regraphicked. I think it ran me $3,500, and I think those vehicles are still being used as reserve vehicles.
That's so
So
great.
it's to your point, Lynn, fire trucks, utility trucks, police cars, somebody's junk is somebody else's treasure, especially for some of the smaller
Yeah,
agencies, like you
totally.
said, that are having difficulty fielding police departments and fire departments and things like that. So I think it's the right thing to do to give people a step up.
That's great. Well, maybe between the city manager group and maybe COG, we could kind of formalize it, because I don't think people know about that. And I do think it's a great way to lift up everyone in our region, and it's a great story to tell. So if either one of you two would take it to COG or the city manager group and just maybe formalize it a bit, I think would be super great. So did you want to make the motion?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, come on, let's watch a retired police guy make this motion. No, I'm just kidding. All right, it's my pleasure to make this motion tonight, to waive the city's formal bidding requirements and authorize the sole source ordering of a Pierce Velocity 107-foot all-wheel steer quint aerial fire truck from Golden State Fire Apparatus. Can I do them all at once?
Sure.
And to waive the bidding requirements to authorize the sole source ordering of a new Pierce triple combination pumper engine for Fire Station 1 from Golden State Fire Apparatus in the amounts noted on staff report, and authorize the city manager to sign those purchase agreements.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Now we'll go to item 29. I'm going to read the item, and then I will proceed with specific instructions. But this is item 29. Consider various actions related to annexation of territory, annexation number 76, T6452 northwest corner Sunnyside and Perrin, T6467 southeast corner Minnewawa Perrin, T6375 northeast corner Minnewawa Shepherd, to the City of Clovis Community Facilities District number 2004-1. Consider approval resolution annexing territory annexation number 76, T6452 northwest corner Sunnyside at Perrin, T6467 southeast corner Minnewawa Perrin, T6375 northeast corner Minnewawa Shepherd, to the City of Clovis Community Facilities District number 2004-1 for police and fire services, and calling a special landowner election to annex territory, annexation number 76, to City of Clovis Community Facilities District number 2004-1, Police and Fire Services. And then item B is to consider a resolution, the City of Clovis declaring the results of special landowner election, directing recording of the notice of special tax lien for City of Clovis Community Facilities District number 2004-1, Police and Fire Services. Staff on this will be Angela Papazian, Deputy Finance Director. And do I go through the report before I read this? Scott, I forgot, Mayor. Okay, I'll probably just do this. Let me do the order of proceedings. I would just-
Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor, if I may. First, I just want to introduce Angela to you. She is new to us from the state of Oregon.
Welcome.
And she is our new Deputy Finance Director. And there should be a script for you there to
Yeah.
read through. Okay.
Well,
So-
welcome, Angela. Let me go through the script.
Mr. Mayor, I think
Okay.
you can throw it to staff now, and then the script is for after the staff
After the staff
presentation,
report?
so, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you for that.
Did you say Deputy Finance Director? Correct. I said Planning Director. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, Deputy Finance Director.
Finance
Angela.
Director, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Yeah, you
Thank
bet.
you. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. We are here tonight for the annexation of territory number 76. I understand there is an order of proceedings for the hearing.
This is the time and place for the public hearing in the council's proceedings for Community Facilities District number 2004-1. The hearing is to acquire annexation number 76 into the district and the levy of special taxes in annexation 76. Before I formally open the hearings, is there anyone who wishes to file a written protest? If so, they must be filed with the city clerk now. Anyone here in the public? Okay. The hearing is now open. We will first have presentation by staff about annexation number 76. After that, we will receive comments and questions and any oral protests from any interested persons. When all comments have been received, the hearing will be closed.
On June 2nd, 2025, the council heard a request by affected property owners to include territory at T6452 northwest corner Sunnyside Perrin, T6467 southeast corner Minnewawa Perrin, T6375 northeast corner Minnewawa and Shepherd, and is indicated in the detailed map and identified as CFD annexation number 76 to City CFD 2004-1. Tonight's actions will finalize the annexation process by holding a public hearing and property owner election.
Any comments, questions, or protests? Anyone from the council? Okay. Anyone from the public? Okay. We're going to close the hearing. We may now consider and adopt the resolution annexing territory annexation number 76 to Community Facilities District 2004-1, which will annex territory described in the boundary map to the district and call a special property owner election, which will call for the property owner vote to approve the special tax and the appropriations limit for annexation number 76.
So moved.
Okay, we have motion. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, with motion and second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Will the clerk please announce the result of the property owner vote?
Yes, Mayor. For Annex 76, we received 3 ballots representing 91 votes, indicating passage.
The record shows that the property owner votes are unanimous and in favor of the levy of the special taxes and the establishment of the appropriations limit. We will now proceed with the final action for the district. So now we need a motion, Scott, for the resolution?
I'll, just to clarify, the votes were unanimous. It was 91%.
97 votes to 0. 3
We
ballots.
had 3 ballots that went out, and they represented 91 votes,
91.
so they were all yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. I apologize. All right. I will make a motion declaring the results of the landowner election and directing the recording of the notice of special tax lien.
Second.
Okay, we have motion second on the floor. All those in favor by signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much and welcome again. Okay. Then, I think, now we are done with the public hearings. City manager comments.
Yes, well, it's going to be a fun summer here in Clovis. We're continuing to do community outreach events. The Clovis Mobile Recreation Program is going to be at Letterman Park this week, and then Thornburn Park and Sierra Bicentennial through the month of July, so check that out. Been well attended. And then the Clovis Police Department is hosting movie nights. They're at Harlan Ranch Park this coming weekend, and then Paso Tiempo toward the end of the month, and then Bicentennial Park in August. So get out there and enjoy some free activities. There's also some things to engage in this summer. On July 14th, the Fresno Council of Governments is hosting a community workshop on mobility hubs, looking for input on our future transportation. And there's also a workshop on the future of Measure C on July 15th at the Clovis Transit Center. And with that, I hope Council has a great summer recess. Our next meeting is the first Monday in August. And enjoy your summer.
Okay. Thank you, Andy.
You say that like you want to see us. You can't avoid that.
Okay, now we'll go to council comments. Councilmember Basco. Okay, Councilmember Bessinger.
Reporting out, since we met last, we had a Zoom meeting with the Congressman's office regarding the heavy-duty vehicle mandate, and we'll be having another Zoom meeting with some of our state representatives on the same subject, and I'll report back because there may be some action we're going to want to contemplate doing. That's all I have.
Councilmember Ashbeck.
So I have a couple of things tonight. First, kudos to the fire department. Sorry that you didn't have anything to do on the 4th of July. And I did chat a little bit before the meeting. I know there's no way, I think every department in California struggles, but I don't know how to get the word across that illegal fireworks are illegal. So I know it's a concept, but, so I don't know if it's a fine. I don't exactly know, but I guess just this council member would empower you all to think of anything that would stop that or be able to give you some teeth in that. I know enforcement's the challenge. By the time you hear it and track it down and drive there and look for someone who, of course, is not around anymore, but it really is just such a shame. And this year was particularly noisy and smoky, and it just seemed really too much. One thing I did wonder is on all the booths that are still remain on our street corners, maybe that could even say something about fireworks or illegally, or the TNT, whatever that brand is, could say something about there's a difference. I'm not sure if education's even the thing anymore, but anyway, kudos to you. For those who lost their home, I'm sorry about that. It may or may not have been fireworks, but let's just go with probably. And I'm glad no one is hurt. So kudos to you, but whatever is required, whatever the cost of that house is in your time, that's what the fine should be, and we'll figure it out from there. I also wanted to ask about a trail map. Where Sean is, Sean might have left. But our trail map on the web is still our old trail map, I think. So is there a new one that I don't know about? It's a secret?
We'll be updating the website in about a month, like fully. So we'll be making sure that
Okay.
everything's updated.
But I do want to say the best part of living in Clovis, among many, is we walked on Saturday on the trail, and without exception, every single person we passed said hello. Good morning, how are you? I walked the Woodward Trail Path with a friend a couple months ago. No one spoke to you, unless you spoke first. So it was just super, super awesome. And there were babies and dogs and people in wheelchairs. It was a beautiful experience, but mostly the friendliness was just, it was really hard to miss. So just hats off to the kindness in Clovis. And I did want to comment with the mayor a little bit on Measure C, if I could maybe take 5 minutes to update the council on Measure C, so that you all have facts. There are a shortage of facts out there, but let me see if I can add a little context. And I do want to first commend Vong's leadership. He was really, he was terrific at the COG board meeting, both in, what month was that? May and June, a long time ago. Just trying to lead people through the process and minimize the sort of angst and fear and language that was happening. So I want to commend you, Vong, publicly. You did a really, really excellent job. So just as context for my colleagues, in May, a small group went to the COG with a proposal to merge, for lack of a better word, two measures, the COG current measure and a community collaborative measure by a group called Transportation for All. And the request of the COG board is give us 30 days. It was 2 people from FCTA, that's how I was involved, 2 people from COG, 3 people from the Community Foundation, and 4 people from Transportation for All. And the basic premise is that if 2 measures were to advance, the COG measure and the Transportation for All measure, they will both likely fail. People can't discern the difference, and so by then, if that was what happened, it would likely that both measures would fail. So the request of the COG board was give us 30 days to see if we can put together a process that gets us to 1 county, 1 plan, 1 measure. That vote was something like 11-5. I thought it was 11-4, but something to that effect. So it was in favor, overwhelmingly in support of trying to put 2 measures together. We met all through May, Sundays, Friday nights, lots of hours, and came back to the COG board in June as promised with an integrated process. It's based on 3 principles and 3 principles alone. One is that there will be only 1 measure for the county. 1 measure, not 2, just 1. The second is the elected officials will make the final say about what's in or out of the measure, not a community collaborative, not somebody in a dark room, not behind a dais at the City Hall in Fresno on the last minute as it happened in 2022. So elected officials are going to make the final decisions. And then the third is that we would leverage our resources so we're not all spending the money. So I want you to think about this as taxpayers, that COG is going to spend $2 million on this process. Transportation for All is going to spend $2 million. The campaigns would each be $1 million. That's $6 million at play, and likely for nothing, because they both likely would pass. So those were the principles that we worked on. And in June, we brought back a proposal. We had a flow chart, all the rest, and conversation. And I'll tell you that the coalition is fragile. The relationships are tentative. We've had a lot of mistrust over the years, but the only way through this as a county, in my view, and the view of this, our group of 10, with the exception of Supervisor Mendez, who was opposed to doing this collaboratively, and he states that publicly, was to try to do this together. So at the COG meeting, I shared a couple of things that I wanted to get out here to my colleagues. First of all, Transportation for All is not working in a dark room somewhere, making their own measure, going to take from the government, whatever that is, and run with the measure. What is happening, though, is 2 former county employees, Mike Leonardo and Tony Boren, former COG and FCTA executives, are working in a dark room, maybe not really, to do their own measure, using the 2022 measure, and they are working independently of COG. I won't tell you what I think of that, because that's not what the purpose of my comments. So there are alternative measures out there, but it's not from Transportation for All. So in this circumstance, in 2020, what year is it? 2025, now we have government working against government, and then we have the community collaborative. So don't believe what you see, that there's this environmental conspiracy. That is not at all what is happening. So that's very disconcerting, but we're going to keep working through the best we can. The second is the elected officials will make the decision. Did I say that already? Nobody else, not the community, not a Congress of citizens, elected officials. There'll be an extra COG meeting. They will have a chance to weigh in, and they will have a chance to look at that. So I think that is super important. There was also great controversy around the steering committee. So COG had a steering committee of 20, the number was squishy, 23. Transportation for All had a steering committee of 12. So we argued about numbers. Was it 2? Should they add 8? What about 4? And we just said, if you know what, we're going to merge the processes, we're going to put them both together, and the steering committee is about 35. And again, the numbers, there was a couple of vacancies. So there was a comment that I had made that I said the number was irrelevant. So, but again, radio shows and media outlets don't talk about context. The number was irrelevant because at that moment in COG, we were negotiating, I think it should be 2, I think it should be 4, what about 6, how do you feel about 2? That was not the point. People were arguing against having Transportation for All on the steering committee at all. So don't be misled by that kind of rhetoric. So it is 12, it is 23 or 25, so we've got 35 people. We have a really good facilitator. So it's going to be up to her to manage the process. Transportation for All is not a monolith. It's made up of about 30 organizations, the Children's Movement, Fresno State, League of Women Voters, Jakarta Movement, many. So they probably represent 30,000 people in the community. They're not a monolith. They're a collection of folks just like all of us. So I'm not saying it's going to work, but I'm saying we're going to give it our very best shot to pull this off. So what I hear out there, and I just want you to rest assured, so the headline in one online media source was, Measure C was blackmailed by enviro justice groups. That's a great headline full of all kinds of words that people go, look, click, 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 click. Not a word of that was true. No blackmail suggests there was money. There's no money, there's no bribe, there's no nothing. So there's that. That was a quote of one county supervisor who lost the vote. So, and I called the media outlet and I said, if you want to write an opinion piece, call that, you may, but that is not the headline. The headline was it passed 11-5. So it is not a blackmail, it is not a bribe, nothing has changed hands, none of that is legit. So again, be cautious as you follow this along and try to advocate for the collective moving this forward. People are saying things like Measure C is dead. Measure C is not dead. It'll be in all of our loss if it is. What is happening, if it fails, it's going to be because of government working against itself. Full stop. So it's easy to think, oh my God, it's never going to go anywhere. That may be true if we can't continue to work together as a county. And again, just words like hijack, blackmail, bribe are really over the top. People express things, I think, I don't know what they're afraid of. There was a couple of things on social media people sent me. One was, this was like high-speed rail. I have no idea the similarities between Measure C and high-speed rail, but I can't find any. Somebody wrote that, what do social justice people know about roads? Well, they drive on them just like everyone else, and they pay taxes like everyone else. So there's a level of fear that I don't understand. It's okay not to trust people. They don't trust me. I don't always trust them. But we are trying to move this county together. So I just want Clovis colleagues to know that we are doing our very best. I'm trying to work at it from the smaller group. Vong has provided leadership. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But we have a chance to have one measure, one county, and move this region ahead. So I just wanted to offer those. And if you have any questions about it or comments, or I would be happy to entertain. Or Vong, has been really a good leader in it as well. But I feel hopeful, but I'm not naive. We have a lot of challenges ahead, but we're going to give it our best shot. And if we can't do it, we can't do it. But we're going to give it our best shot. So I will end with that, but if anybody has any questions on Measure C or comments, or what would you like to add, Vaughn, if anything?
Yeah, I'll reserve my comments for when it's my turn.
Okay.
I will give some and we can continue to talk about it. Mayor Pro Tem Pierce.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the 4th of July holiday. And again, kudos to our fire department for doing what you do so well. And as someone who really, really enjoys the safe and sane legal fireworks, that generally means that we really, really get upset when people take advantage and do the illegal fireworks, because that's what causes the damage. That's what makes you guys run around way too much, having to protect the rest of us. So thank you to those who celebrated responsibly, safely, and with legal fireworks. And thank you to our fire department for your efforts in keeping us safe from those who made other decisions. Now to Measure C, because I actually do have some comments in that. And I think the way you laid it out, Councilmember Ashbeck, really kind of helps, and I can kind of go through my points, because I think a lot of what I had to express kind of hit some of the bullet points that you laid out. So the idea of not understanding what people are afraid of, I can give you a whole long list. Because part of the problem as I see it, I appreciate the effort that's been done. I get the desire to have just one measure, totally think that that makes sense. 2 measures on the ballot, neither of them goes forward. I think what a lot of people are concerned about, and I'll speak for myself specifically, but obviously I kind of would be representative of people who have significant concerns about merging these groups, and particularly what happened with the steering committee in that. I get that the numbers don't matter, and I understand your explanation of that, but I think the real concern is that the percentage matters, because the steering committee has to have 70% of approval for recommendations and policies to go forward to COG. And now this Transportation for All group, which was spearheaded and put together by Sandra Celadon, who leads the Building Healthy Communities organization, which is, it may be 30 organizations, but it's really kind of a leftist social justice activist grouping. And so the idea that they have a controlling interest on the steering committee, I think, has given a lot of people incredible pause and concern for what it is even possible to come back to COG to approve. And I think the fact that it is the elected officials who will have that final say, I think that's appropriate, but I think it also puts them in an incredibly difficult position to have this community group, this steering committee that has done this work and brought forward a proposal, and then for those elected officials to basically have the decision of saying, no, we're not doing any of that. I think that would make it a very difficult measure to pass. And so I think it's really this kind of process and where we are trying to figure this out that has people like me very concerned, because the way I see it is the city of Clovis has 1 seat on that steering committee, and we're the 2nd largest city in the county. City of Fresno represents half the entire population of the county. They have 3 seats. So between the two, those are 4 seats, and the social justice activist groups have 12. So that's 3 times, and from everything I've seen that they've put forward, that they've been working toward, they do not represent our interests. They are pushing for a lot of the money to go toward not roads, highways, and improvements and maintenance and expansion of the roads and the highways that we all depend on. They want it to go to public transit. Now, the city of Clovis has outstanding public transit, but we also recognize that the majority of our citizens don't utilize it. We also have incredible trails, and they're one of the best amenities that we have in a calling card for our city, but we wouldn't ask others to pay for or maintain them. And that's another thing that this group is really pushing for. And I think where the high-speed rail concern comes from is the idea that they would push for a light rail system that I think we can pretty much acknowledge no one would use. And also my concern with the idea of having more money going into public transit, not prioritizing roads and highways, and that is, if we're gonna do that, our roads still need to be maintained and repaired and expanded, so how would they even be able to sustain additional public transit? So I feel like that's completely backwards, and I think that's where a lot of the people are mostly concerned. I think the other thing it feels like too is when you look at what happened in 2022 with Measure C, it is the voters in North Fresno and Clovis right here, that really kept the measure from getting across the finish line. So if we were really interested in trying to make sure that we had something that was going to be successful this time around, I would think the additional input would go to North Fresno and Clovis to make sure that we had the buy-in to get the measure across the line. So that's a lot of the things that I think have caused concern for this process and where things are now, and has a lot of people, including myself, maybe open to an alternative, saying, hey, let's scrap this whole thing. I do think that I see Transportation for All coming in a bully position and just kind of trying to say, basically saying, and this is where the idea of blackmail comes, it's like, we're gonna put our own measure out there and you're gonna have to suffer, you know? And so the only option that COG had at that point was to say, we're gonna take our chances with 2 measures and trust that ours is the better one, better communicated, better education to the people, and we'll be successful because we're really doing what it is that they want, and you guys do your own thing, or we bend the knee to them, allow them to take the process and have that controlling interest, and I think that's where people are most concerned. I think there's also a concern at this point now that we're in kind of murky territory, because we have these citizens groups who have publicly declared their intention to circulate signature petitions, and now they're involved with the government process, with COG, with FCTA, and I know the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association has sued over far less blatant line crossing. So I have a concern there as well. So with all of that being said, hopefully that gives you some idea of where other people are coming from and what our concerns are for the process as it's come to this point, what we expect to come out of it. And so I really am open to an alternative that goes back to the original intent of Measure C, prioritizes roads, highways, and regional projects that actually benefit the majority of taxpayers.
Can I know this is not a debate.
I
would love to have a
I
debate
think this
with
is
you, though.
important for.
So I think a couple.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, just a brief response, I think.
Yeah.
This is not an item on the agenda, so we want to limit the discussion.
That's why I asked. I mean,
I think we're giving just information.
So a couple things. The controlling interest piece, the math doesn't work. It's 2/3 government appointed, 1/3 Transportation for All. So the math doesn't really work on the controlling interest part of the.
So it's 30, what I saw was 38 people, they have 12, and that is 31.78, so it's over 30%, and if 70% is required, then they would be able to control the votes.
So the 70% was just a suggestion. It's not final. So and again, the elected officials have hard jobs because that's why they're elected. So they're not going to get something that they don't like. But so there's that. Clovis has 1 seat, but I bet we have 6 residents on there. Mark Kepler's on there, he lives in Clovis. So people live in cities, so all of the people live somewhere. So Huron might have 3, I don't know. Fresno probably has 12 or 15, because those folks live in those communities. So that kind of one-to-one doesn't exactly work. And interestingly, I appreciate the comment on the government process, because that's what happened in Madera County. And there is a lawsuit about that pending, how Madera got theirs passed. But I do think this alternative measure is headed toward that same path, where 2 citizens, former government employees taking a measure, because it's going to be a new measure. A citizen measure is a new tax. It's not a Measure C extension. So I think those are the risks. And for me, the risks are greater than trying to, there was no blackmail, nobody took a knee, we didn't do any of that. It just seems like that collaborative is better campaigners than the rest of us. We lost last time because we had no campaign, and we lost. And Steve Brando was the face, and we lost the race. So that's that. But anyway, I hear you. I appreciate that. I'm having lunch with the supervisor who told you all of those things that you just read, which I really appreciate.
No, he actually didn't, but I know you are.
Sounded just like, I know you are. That's so scary. Anyway, we're going to try to sort this out, because those words like blackmail and social media are on that. They're so dangerous. They're fear-mongering words, and they just have no. I don't see us moving. But I digress. But I hear what you're saying. I think your facts are slightly off, but I'd love to debate this further. But we'll do our best, and we'll figure it out. But that's kind of where we are trying to move forward. But we'll know in 30 days if it can hang together or not. If it falls apart, it's going to do it quickly, and if it makes it, it'll make it quickly. So that's it.
Thank you. I will share some of the report out, and then I will also report with Measure C, because I was at the meeting on behalf of our city. I want to just commend our Chamber of Commerce for doing an excellent leadership summit. And so, thank you to a lot of our staff, Andy, for sending a lot of our staff to that. It was inspirational. It was very practical at the same time. And we got 3 excellent speakers, 3 different styles. One was a magician, one was a true motivational speaker, and the other was an elected official from Mountain View. And so they just really inspired those who came, and to all the sponsors that did that. I also want to congratulate 2 new businesses that I went to for ribbon cuttings. One was Menchie's that came to Loma Vista Marketplace, which is slowly filling up, and so that is excellent for that part of town. And then the other was Little Valley Goods, which our city manager attended with me as well. And so that was Young Entrepreneur of the Year? He won that from the.
So he originally was part of
Chamber.
our youth entrepreneurial program that launched out of COVID in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
And he's now graduated from high school, owns his own business, and
Yeah, so it's excellent. He has a place kind of close to Old Town, so just to see an 18-year-old start his own business, rent out one of the old warehouses, and then now is just doing great business. It's just excellent to see. Little Valley Goods. So he does steer sashes for graduation, little keychains. Leather. And so a lot of different ornamental stuff. And so very nice. Great job. And also Clovis East graduate, FFA, and all that. And then I do want to thank Cornerstone Church for doing a Celebrate America on Sunday night, which is free to the entire community, and just a fireworks show. And it was just something open to celebrate, really just celebrate America. And it was very, very non-religious, okay, for a church to do it. So it was just come here, have fun, hear some music, and see fireworks. And so it was very nice to be invited to that. I do want to ask the council, if they have not heard, our very own Miss Clovis won Miss California. And so she's going to represent us in July, in September, 2nd to the 7th. And so she's going to go to Miss America back east. And I wanted to present a proclamation, but I wanted to ask if the entire council would be willing to sign on the proclamation. If you want to read it, it's really just her bio, what she's done. And these are super smart ladies. And so she's just a talented musician, college graduate, all that stuff. So it's not just beauty, it's brains, beauty, talented, service-oriented. And so she represents us really well. And so now she no longer belongs to the local organization that elects Miss Clovis, Miss Fresno County, and Miss Fresno City. She now belongs to the state organization. And so they have asked to see if we would do something. And I said, sure, we want to celebrate her. And they are hoping to plan something. And so if they do, then I'll send the invitation to the rest of the council. But my first request is just to have a proclamation ready, signed by all 5 of us. I think, Matt, you have been very involved with this organization, and you know a lot of them. And so I just want to.
Have we ever had a Miss California? I don't think so.
Not from Clovis. Do we? No. Yeah, not from Clovis.
Has Fresno had a Miss California?
I don't know that either. Yeah.
Tiffany Stoker.
Oh, yeah, the last one, Tiffany was. That's right. Miss Tiffany was. And so that's 90-something already. So I just want a consensus to see if you guys would sign it. Okay, that's good news. And then, let me see. Okay, my report out on Measure C. And so I have to remember, first of all, that I represent the city of Clovis when I go to the meeting. So I don't represent my own personal views, and I don't represent a view of any political party. I have to represent Clovis. And the last time the mayor, Ashbeck, then appointed me onto the executive committee, it was always, can Clovis operate with whatever the allocation buckets are and the percentages? So every time, I will admit, I am no expert. So in the last rendition, the staff was super involved. Every time they changed the percentages, I just sent it to John Holt, Andy, everybody, Renee, and said, can we still work with what they are proposing? And if the city staff comes back and goes, we'll still make it work, then I feel like my position has to be, I have to vote for it. Even if they allocate some more percentages for public transit or for whatever it is. Because as long as we operate and we can operate with it, with what we've been doing, I think my leaning has to be the city of Clovis relies on this, and so we need to vote on it, even if it's not perfect to what my personal beliefs are. And so with that sort of framework, 2 months ago, the COG put up, well, 3 months ago, the COG voted for itself to appoint only 1 per sitting. We set that on ourselves, okay? So we all sent in 1. Jerry did feel, meaning Mayor Dyer did feel they were bigger, so he did put 3 in, which I think none of us argued. And so they're 54% of the population. And so we have our representative and we have our alternate, and so they've been in the meetings. And so because of that, I think it was 24 was sort of that number with a couple of community organizations as well. And so when we voted on that, the next month came, and then our next vote was, here's this group who's been actively doing something, Transportation for All. Do we work together and put in 1 measure, or do we work separately? And the consensus, I thought it was 100% together, but I think it was only 4 that voted no at that time. Yeah, at that time, said, yes, let's work together. So that's the vote that passed and moved forward. So we're going to work together. And after we agree, then the FCTA, with the leadership of Councilmember Ashbeck, Buddy Mendez, and their staff, with our chair, Alma and Beltran and Victor Martinez, our chair, meaning of COG, and our co-chair, our vice chair, they all had meetings. And so they came up with criteria at this last meeting, which gave an outline of what's going to happen, but also criteria, as you've heard from Councilmember Ashbeck and Mayor Pro Tem Pierce, with regards to some thresholds or some membership, but the details weren't worked out. And so my reasoning for moving forward is we can't go in with assumptions. We have to go expecting outcomes. Now, if we go with assumptions, they too have assumptions about the other side, and this side has assumptions about the other side. So in other words, then we can't even work out. Let's put that aside. Let's see what both sides can do together. because in the end, if this goes down, we all, meaning all Fresno County, suffers. And so because of that, of wanting it to pass, we have to work together. And that sort of was the not the consensus, but the majority of the COG. And so moving forward, July, hopefully the committee now, and I encourage people to participate. And I heard about this other committee. They also have to come to the COG and present what they think the COG should be supporting. Everybody needs to come to the table because the motion was to work with Transportation for All and any other groups that are willing and wanting to participate. So that is open to everyone. And then I've outreached to some of the more conservative groups in Clovis to go meet with Measure C folks, grill them, talk to them, so that way you can be assured that, hey, they're up or down, or they're honest or not honest, or I don't like it. Ask them the questions, attend the meetings, so that way you can be informed. The steering committee was expanded. Why I didn't oppose the number, it's sort of what's the outcome. And so we can have 1,000 people, but if it's not a good plan, it's not a good plan. Or we have 2 people, and if it's not a good plan, it's still not a good plan. And so it's gonna come back, and once again, I'm being very transparent. I'm gonna send it over to our staff, whatever that bucket list is, to say, is this workable? And if the staff comes back and goes, no, we can no longer do our bike trails, or we can no longer fix streets, or we can no longer operate transit, I'm gonna vote no. It's as simple as that, because we need it to operate, and the staff is ready to give us direction, because they're the experts with the allocations. And it's not whatever the name is, but it's actually what it is. So we can't go into it with preconceptions, but we could be careful, just as they are careful about the other side, and this side is careful of the other side. That's good. That'll keep us honest. And so I want the committee to either prove us right that we work together, or prove us wrong, and they have the ability to do that. So if it comes out where all the rules are made it where nothing gets passed, nothing gets to 70%, 2 meetings you're out, all that kind of stuff, okay. It was not meant to be working together, but it was just meant to make it where they're gonna derail it no matter what. But the neat thing about our agreement is we are working, or will work on the plan ourselves too. So if it doesn't work, the COGS committee will still develop a plan with its own membership already. So that's always there. That's always been the backup. That's something in which the COG can rely on. And so our hope is that it can join together. But if it doesn't work out, both sides can get off the tracks and run their own too, which, yeah. So transportation. So that's something in which we need to be ready for. But that's something that is also available for everyone who is involved in this process. Our hope is that we do get one, and we do get a measure that is important. The other thing is, there are strengths on both parties, both groups. They can outreach well. We have technical assistant abilities, technical people who can tell the numbers and put it all together. With this, we can reach a whole lot more people. Our outreach efforts have been 40 people, 10, 20. Their outreach efforts have been 2,000, couple hundred every single time. If we join the two, look how powerful we can be. I think this is an opportunity for us as electeds to say, hey, we're in this together. We may not have worked well in the past, but our future is at stake. Let's work well, hold hands until we get to the end, and then we can fight again. But until then, we need to get to the end together, because if we don't, we lose it all, and then we will suffer, and I think the entire county will suffer. But the position of Clovis has always been, even though we do generate a lot of the tax, we're willing to share to all the sister cities and the county those tax dollars, so that way all the roads of all the cities can be better for everyone. And that's always been the position of the previously since 1980-something, that 86, 87 that started this, and I think that should be our position now as well. We need to be able to share to help. I do want to say that there is a outreach on July 15th at the Transit Center at 5 p.m. I encourage our residents to go out, to listen, to participate, to give your input. They need to hear from our residents. And so they're coming to the Transit Center. Please come out and go there. And if you have a group, 10, 20, 15, please let us know so that way the consultant with the staff can come out, lay all the figures out, the plan, get your input so that way you can have an honest look at the measure and see what it can do or have honest say into it. And so I encourage that from everyone, that let's look at what's going to come before us first and not jump to conclusions on either side of what's going to happen. Because I believe it can't be all roads, but also it can't stray from no roads. And so it's going to meet someplace sort of in the middle. And as long as our staff, my position, and I'm disclosing it and how it's always been, is just whatever our staff says we can work with, I'm going to vote that way. And as long as we can work it out, our staff is giving the okay. They're the experts on looking at these numbers and Measure C. They've been the ones allocating it and using it this whole time. And so I have no expertise in that, and so I'm going to rely on them. So I just want to say that. I want to thank, I think, positions like Councilmember Butterfield, Supervisor Butterfield is important because it keeps an eye on it, but we also need transportation all to keep an eye on government and see that we all are doing our job as well. And I think this is important, but the respect needs to be there to be able to go back and forth. And like I've said before, America has the best system where it's done in public, it's done here, and it's done where we can just face each other and challenge each other with our questions and our doubts, and so that way we can get to a better spot. And so that's where we are. The timeline says July they're going to come back with, potentially come back with buckets and allocations, and we're trying to finish everything sort of in September-ish, and so it's going to move quick. So regardless of what it is, the end product is going to go, we're going to go this way, we're going to go this way. And we'll vote accordingly when the product comes forward. So I wanted to report that out to everyone. And that's all I have. Next is we're going to move to closed session. We have 3 items. The first is conference with legal counsel of an existing litigation. The case name is Matthew Maciel, with the City of Clovis, and Fresno County Superior Court case. And then second is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, and another anticipated litigation. Anyone from the public like to address the council on those items? Okay, seeing none. Scott, do you anticipate anything to be reported out?
No, not
Okay.
on any item. I'm just double checking.
Okay.
No, we're not requesting action on any item.
All right, and so we're going to adjourn now.